Hello, young folks. This is Tolbert's class. This is biology. This is lesson number 4. So, any covalently bonded compound containing carbon is called organic. It's more than like they want us to believe that, oh, you had some organic food. What the truth of the matter is, anything that has at least one carbon chain is considered organic. Very generally, any substance that contains a chain of at least two carbon atoms is organic. Basically, all the food you eat basically is organic. It does not suggest that it was grown on the side of a mountain and it's healthy or whatever the case is. It just simply is telling you that it contains at least one carbon chain. Some things that you eat are inorganic. Well, what does that mean? That means it doesn't contain carbon. And just because it does not have, just because it's inorganic or it doesn't contain carbon doesn't mean it's bad for you. Let me give an example. Water. Water is H2O, inorganic. Doesn't contain carbon. It is good for you. So, carbon is crazy special, and we've talked about this because carbon has these four electrons that are open to bonding. Because it has four, it can either do some sharing or all these other things that are possible. They tend to want to form strong, covalent, caring, sharing, strong bonds. Okay, it tends to do that. That's what carbon tends to do. But it tends to do that with literally almost anything on the periodic table, like hydrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur, nitrogen, all kinds of different things that we say are our life molecules. Now, because carbon is so amazing, it likes to bond and make these large and super chains. Okay, so we have to break down, well, what exactly is a chain? And as you know, a chain has a link, and when you put it all together, it becomes a chain. Let's break it down. One link in the chain is called a monomer. Mono meaning one, monomer. So if it only has one link in that chain, it's called a monomer. Okay. So when you take the one link and you put it together with another link and another link and another link and another, you have something called a chain. The chain represents not just one link, mono, it represents many. And the term that means many is poly. A polymer simply is more than one together, it is the entire chain. A large molecule assembled from small individual molecules in the chain is a polymer, or many subunits. The subunits are the chain. Now, in the next few slides, that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about, well, what is the link itself and what is the chain called? Because of this carbon, it does a lot of things, and it's all of the things that we love to eat. It's all of the things that love to help us create things. It is literally almost everything in our lives. So these large chains can come together so large that you have to put them in a separate category. So when you're talking about big or huge, you're talking about macro. Macro means large, whereas micro means tiny. So giant molecules are called macromolecules. Macromolecules have these smaller units that are called monomers that join together to form polymers. And we're going to break that down for our large macromolecules being carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and even nucleic acids. So, carbohydrate, the term itself, let's break that down. Carbon, hydrate, sounds like water, just like water. What's water made of? Hydrogen and oxygen. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. That's what carbohydrate means. It's the main source of our living things. It's the main source. It makes up these sugars. Now, let's get into the whole link versus the chain. So, a sugar is a single link. We call a sugar a saccharide. It's called saccharide. I'll say it one more time, saccharide. The single sugar is a monosaccharide, is a single link in the chain. When you put many saccharides together, you come up with something that's called a polysaccharide. So we have simple sugars and complex carbohydrates or complex sugars. Monosaccharides, single, poly, many. Fats. Fats are lipids. Fats are oils. Fats are waxes. So sometimes I'll say lipids. Sometimes I'll say fat. Sometimes I'll say oil. Sometimes I say waxes. All these things come into thought. The large macromolecule containing carbon, hydrogen, and some oil, that oil is called glycerol. That glycerol is an oil and it is the backbone of most of these lipids. Okay, they're made of a carbon chain, a carboxyl group, and the glycerol is in there. Okay, so in the carbohydrates, I had carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and a lipid, I have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, but I also have this glycerol, which is an oil, which is why lipids are oily. So here are simple lipids. A simple lipid, one link in a chain. Complex lipids, many links, poly. So this is the glycerol. Glycerol is the backbone, right? It's that oil that's going to attach three fatty acids. Let's think. One, two, three. Is there a term that we use as a prefix to mean three? Yes, it's called tri. Tri means three. Three things are linked to a glycerol. They're called triglycerides. This is a picture similar to one of the ways that fatty acids can look. Now, lipids and their fats are very, very, very important for these reasons. Yes, we can make energy, get energy from them. But as you know, in your blood, there's lots of water and other things in solution, and we need the fat to go from point A to point B. So, one of the things that fat also does is it helps us transport fat from point A to point B. So, that's what these fat soluble vitamins help us with. The fat is also good at insulating us, subcutaneous fat. This is the fat that's underneath your skin and those different body parts. Okay. So it's insulation, keeping the heat in and keeping things out. Now, let's talk about protection. Protection meaning it cushions the vital organs. So between all your things, your heart, your liver, kidney, spleen, all those things, they're surrounded by a small layer of fat. And you have to have the layer of fat because you're moving around. As you move around, these things are moving around, but if they have something between them, to grease that interface, they're not going to rub together. But if there is no fat, they rub together and boom, rupture. So, why does a wrestler need to have a certain amount of fat, more than 4% body fat, or at least 4%? Is because at 4% body fat, you stop having enough cushion between your vital organs. They're trying to save you, wrestlers, if you didn't know what they were trying to do. Okay? As you move around and are physical, at 4%, there's not enough fat to stop your organs from rubbing together. Another thing that fat does is it gives us a structural component. It's one of the parts of our biological membrane, which is a type of steroid or hormones. The good thing about fat is if you have a little bit of fat in your lunch and dinner, it's going to make you feel full. So if you're eating more protein but you're not feeling full, you have to add a little fat to make you feel like you've eaten enough. Here's a slide about two different types of fats. One of the fats has all the hydrogen it could take. It is completely full. If something is completely full, we call that saturated. The other type of lipid is one that's not full. If it's not full, it's called unsaturated. It's not full of hydrogen. The difference of the two is major. For instance, these saturated fats are solid at room temperature. And let me tell you more. If your body fat was a unsaturated fat, we couldn't live. You need that fat to be solid between yourself so that it is able to cushion all these things. It's solid at room temperature. And this is a good thing for us. A lot of it comes from animal products, but it doesn't have to. The other thing typically comes from plant sources. But here's the deal. Typically, it's liquid at room temperature. If the fat that was in our body was an unsaturated fat, we couldn't survive. We wouldn't live. If you changed all the fat in your body to unsaturated, you would die instantly. Because you need the fat to cushion, to physically keep boundaries up. Cholesterol. Cholesterol is also a type of fat. Okay, it can be produced by the body. It is produced by the liver, but fat can this type of cholesterol can be given a bad name. Too much of it, then it's related to heart disease. Not enough of it, you don't have enough of the steroids and hormones to do what you need to do. The cool thing about these cholesterols is when you have certain forms of them, they are there because your body took in some other type of chemical component. So if you've ever heard of athletes being caught like doping or using steroids or all these different things, they don't have to know the kind of steroids the person uses. All they need to do is your body's going to react in a certain way to the things that you ingest. They only have to find a certain type of cholesterol to let them know that you're ingesting things that you shouldn't. That's how they catch you in the athletes and these performance drugs. Some of these guys are found in animal products, some are not. And I'll stop there. I'll go on to lesson 5 another time.